My name's Burke. I'm a member of Whiteland Missionary Baptist Church in Whiteland, Indiana, and I think it's an awesome privilege here to be able to share my experience and testimony and salvation and how the Lord saved my soul. And as unworthy as I am, but God still loved me enough to one day save me. And for me, I'll never understand it. I was a young man that grew up in church, and many opportunities I had to be saved, and how the Holy Spirit got a hold of me and convicted my heart of my sin one day. And I can remember many times in the church house that how I would grab hold of the back of a pew. I could probably shook it off the floor. I remember other times that I would run away, and run away being that I would run out of the sanctuary and try to hide and go into the bathroom and lock the doors, and how that the Spirit of God would not leave me even in there, even so much as one day when I ran back to the bathroom, I found a bottle of vinegar in the church bathroom, and it said apple cider on it. And lo and behold, I drank that, and I drank that whole bottle of vinegar. And that's just one of the ways that I did to try to hide from the Lord and His drawing power. And it was one thing I discovered in all that is that even today that we can run and we can hide, but we can never hide from the Lord. We can get out of the sight and the vision of those that are in the church and hide from them, those good old brothers and sisters who had tried to compel me to pray. And all those, I still remember them. I still remember their names even. And there was many of them. And I thank God for each and every one of them. And but it shows you just by my own experience, even in drinking something like vinegar, who'd want to drink a bottle of vinegar? But nonetheless, I did. And that was something that I did just to try to hide from God. But I ran many years from the power of the Spirit. But for me, going throughout my lifetime, I was not in God's eyes. I did horrible things, if you will. I can remember times that I would cheat, I would steal, I would do things that I shouldn't do, run around with the crowds that I shouldn't run around with. Being raised in a good Christian household, I knew better. But nonetheless, I still got out in the world and got to the point in my life where I was worldly enough. I got to drinking, got to going to the bars and hanging out those places, and anything I could do to try to make me feel better. And one thing I found out in all that, I never felt better. I felt relieved for perhaps just for a few moments in a worldly sense, but I was not a good person in that way. I thought more of the world and more of my own personal pleasures than I did even pleasing God or even considering Him. But Proverbs comes back to my mind many times about train up a child in the way he should go, when he's old he'll not depart from it. And that's the way it was with me. And I kind of feel like that, using that as a thought, that how God placed a big rubber band around me is the analogy that I use so often. And He allowed me to get out in the world, and He allowed me to do things because in the book of Joshua, it teaches us to choose you this day whom you're going to serve. And my choice was to serve the world for a long time. But God allowed me to stretch that rubber band out so far. And I can recall one day, as I was January the 15th, 1991 to be exact, as I was driving around on the south side of Indianapolis heading to my work, and it was right about 7 a.m. at this time, maybe a few minutes before. I remember that how the burden of my sin got a hold of me again, and that the Spirit of God was drawing me to an altar of prayer, and I was in my automobile. I was westbound on the south side of 460, or south side of Indianapolis on 465, and I looked up and I saw a sign at an exit for Man Road, and it's very vivid in my mind because I can recall that's when I felt the need that I should pray, and I started and I prayed, and as I got on the west side of Indianapolis, headed northbound on 465, I was driving, I went under the 34th Street Bridge when God spoke sweet peace to my soul. He forgave me my sin. Took it all away. That was about 7:10, maybe 7:15 a.m. on that Monday morning. And I'll never forget. I remember thinking, oh Lord, you just saved my soul. Woo, what a day that was. I'll never forget it. You know, there's been many times I've been tested and tried since then, and even to the point where Satan tried to convince me that I never got anything. And I cried out to the Lord again, and he took me right back to that place on 465. You know, I go by there many times a day, and I can relate to how they've taken that highway and they've rebuilt it. They've torn out all that old pavement. They torn out that 34th Street Bridge. Put in new ones, but they never took away from my spot. And I felt that peace and joy come in my heart, because even today when I drive over that spot in that highway, I can still feel the peace that the Lord gave me there that day, and the smile comes up on my face, and I thank him so much for what he's done for me. And I feel like I'm just so unworthy to even sit here and tell you about it, but God made a way for that today. And I'm so thankful for that. And I'll go on to tell you that it was just a short time after that, back in, I don't remember the exact day, but somewhere around, it was in around May or June of 1992, the Lord called me to preach. You know, I don't understand that either. I'm not able. Still don't feel able. Don't feel qualified. And I use that as excuses, because there again, I ran from God for many, many years before I would own up to my calling. It was not until March, I believe it was around the 17th of March of 2007, before I honed my call to preach. But God never left me. He stayed right with me, and every now and then he'd poke me a little bit, gave me a reminder. I was reminded by several people that didn't realize they were talking to me about my calling to preach, but nonetheless, I can recall that, and the day that I finally surrendered, April 22nd, 2007. Long time, 15 years I ran from God. I regret that very much. But God was merciful to me, very patient. And I recall that how that I woke up on my bed, looked at the clock. Actually, I hadn't gone to sleep. Looked at my clock, and it was around 3:30 in the morning. And I felt a trembling inside that I cannot explain today, because I could hold my hand up just like I'm holding it up right here, just as calm. But my inner being was shaking in such a terrible way that I felt that if I ever went to sleep, I'd never wake up. I went to work that morning at my place of business. Spent probably the most miserable day of my life out there. Came home. Went back to my bedroom and got down on my knees beside that bed, and I got very angry with God. And I even yelled, "Just what is it you want me to do?" I said. And I'll never forget how he spoke to me. I yelled at him, and he still spoke to me with a still small voice. He came in there and told me that, spoke to my heart. I didn't hear any audible words, but I sure felt it in my heart, and I heard it. That how he said, "I told you many years ago to preach my word." And I told him, Lord, if that's what you want, I'll do it. But I'm not able to. You're going to have to. And he's helped me ever since I preached my first message. Let me back up just for a minute. I told the Lord I'd announce it to the church. Well, it took me 3 weeks. I kept making up excuses before I could announce it to my church. I'd say the last time I wanted all of my family to be there. Then when all of the families there, I had no more excuses. But yet Satan still kept me in my seat for a little while. I finally got up, the courage with God's help, to stand up and announce to the church that how he called me to preach, and that was on April 22nd of 2007. It was April the 29th, I preached my first message out of Luke 14, and I'll never forget that either, about the Great Supper. And I'm thankful today that I'm going to be able to participate in that Great Supper. I'm thankful that he called me to preach now. Been many roads many miles we've traveled for the Lord, and we're thankful that he's been with us at each and every one of them. My advice to anybody is don't run from God. You know, the Spirit of God calls you to an altar of prayer. Please pray. You'll never regret it. The only regrets that I have in my life from serving God is the fact that I didn't when I could have. That I ran from him for so many years. In my convicting, when he convicted my heart and let me know I was lost, I wish I could have gone back and prayed it at that time, but I didn't. So my advice to anybody that might see this testimony is to follow the Spirit of God. Listen to the Spirit when he speaks to your heart. Follow what he tells you to do, knowing that you're not able to anyway. God will help you with that. Satan will cause you to use that for an excuse. He'll cause you to do everything not to serve God, and he'll certainly supply you with your amount of excuses. I know he did me. I just beg, and my prayer is for you to listen to God, and I hope this will help somebody. If it helps anybody, it'll be worth it all, because it is to me that I can proudly boast today that God is my Savior, and I have an eternal home in heaven prepared just for me by his precious hands. Thank you for listening to me, and my prayer is that one day I'll be able to hear your testimony also. God bless you.